Welcome to First Look, the podcast where we take a metaphorical first look at the incredible vendors who bring wedding days to life. I'm your host, Kayla from Kayla Susie Photography, and today I'm thrilled to be chatting with Hannah Ownby of Ownby Events. Hannah is an experienced wedding planner from Tennessee. We'll be talking about her journey into wedding planning, why she loves what she does, and getting some solid advice for couples looking to create a stress-free and beautifully designed wedding day. Let's dive in. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi.
And I would love to get things started by you telling us about yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I am a Nashville native based in Tennessee. I'm a golden retriever dog mom. I'm a wife. I'm a Jesus lover, all the things. A little bit about how I got started. So I actually come from a marketing background. And then from the events perspective, I started in doing private events and community events on the corporate side. So with that, I got to kind of fall in love with all of the little details that play into guest experience and those kind of things. And then from there in 2023, I got to plan my own wedding, which was a phenomenal experience. And that's kind of where I fell in love with weddings. So I started conceptualizing Ownby events, I guess, in the fall of 23, right after my wedding, and then launched publicly in the spring of 24 and just haven't looked back since.
That's amazing. Did you have a planner for your wedding or were you your own planner?
A little bit of both. So I was my
Mhm.
own planner, but I did hire a coordinator that did
Mhm.
month of and kind of wrapped up all the details and executed the day of for me.
Mhm.
But I felt like since I had enough events background, I could kind of go into it knowing what to expect cost and budget wise and
Yeah,
logistically. And so I did it myself.
that's amazing. Do you feel like it was easy for you to hand that over to someone else for a month of, or would you have rather just like handed it all off?
Uh, I think it was easy to an extent. I mean, I'm obviously kind of a control freak as a wedding planner. I
Mhm.
did give my month of coordinator a 63-page packet with all of the details of the wedding day. So I felt pretty confident that I gave them everything they needed and I could step off and I had a really good experience. They did a great job. So it was nice to be able to experience my wedding day
Mhm.
and not be like trying to run around and touch up the last minute details and do
Mhm.
things. I just got to be a bride.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, even if you are experienced and you can plan your own wedding, you should definitely have help.
I think it's so hard for type A brides to relinquish control. And having somebody that is a planner or coordinator there to help them let go so that they can experience the wedding day and not just be like focused on all of the details and what happens next and this, that, and the other. Like they need to take the time to like look inward and focus on what they're doing.
Absolutely. I think something that I did to my own benefit that worked out really well is I literally did not have my phone the entire wedding day. I gave it to a certain bridesmaid, and her job was to have my phone and respond to anything as
Mhm.
needed. And then I had like three different contacts on my list that I gave the planner of like, this is who you reach out to for any specific circumstance. So
Mhm.
that if anything did go wrong, and I'm sure things did because they always do on a wedding day, they knew who to reach out to and I didn't know about it
Mhm.
because that would have stressed me out to
Yeah.
the max if I would have known like a bar was missing or we didn't have enough flowers for a certain table or
Yeah.
whatever.
I love that you didn't know when things went wrong.
Because I mean, I'm getting my makeup done, I'm hanging out with my friends, I
Mhm.
don't want to know that. But if I wouldn't have put those boundaries in place, I could have had a much different experience, I think.
Yeah. I've seen the other side of that where brides don't relinquish control and they are very stressed the whole day and they're having to go make sure that the tables are set up properly and that things look the way that they're meant to instead of like getting to sit back with their friends and listen to music and have a dance
Hmm.
party and journal. Like I've had a bride that was like very like released the day and she sat down and journaled
Totally.
before she got her dress on. So I think relinquishing control is so hard, but it's necessary.
And to even like a further extent, I see a lot of brides who maybe get just a week of planner or a day of planner. And I feel like you really have to be intentional about that whole last month. Really, the last 2 months are so crucial and like you want to experience every bit of it. And it can be so chaotic. Think about, trying to coordinate every detail that you plan for a
Mhm.
year and a half and then pass off to someone who has a week to
Mhm.
coordinate all of those details or a day to just show up and hope they do everything right. And because of that, I actually just changed my coordination package at the beginning of this year to now it's 8 weeks because
Okay.
that last month can just be so chaotic. Typically, you're doing showers then, you're
Mhm.
doing your dress fittings, all that kind of stuff. And if you're having a daily call or tons of emails and texts to respond to, you
Mhm.
just can't enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I feel like do yourself a favor and give yourself some runway is
Yeah.
really important.
I love that. That kind of like leads us right into the next question. What do you do and who do you serve?
So I do all kinds of events, birthday parties, showers, corporate events, that kind of stuff. But my main clientele is weddings. So I have a couple different packages. One is a coordination, which, like I said, it starts 8 weeks out. So that the client plans the whole wedding, but then 8 weeks out, they give me all of that information. And then we have 2 weeks for me to compile that, 2 weeks for them to, get the information to me. And nothing is rushed, which is really important to me. Or I have full planning and design where I jump in, up to 2 years before the wedding and
Mhm.
do every single piece with them, help them manage the budget, help
Mhm.
them do all the visioning, all the vendors,
Mhm.
everything. And then also, one step up, I have a full wedding weekend where I plan the rehearsal dinner, the welcome
Mhm.
party, day after, everything. And then one step, I guess you could say, down from a coordination is I have micro wedding planning
Mhm.
packages where I just offer 25% off all packages for micro weddings because I love those. So with that, I really serve all kinds of budgets, all
Mhm.
kinds of couples, different visions. It's just really what are you looking for? And then let's find what
Mhm.
fits best for you.
Well, I know we had met because you were planning a wedding in Greenville and the bride only had what, like less than
20,
20 guests?
18 guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen you do that and I've seen you do destination and you're doing all of the things. So I know you excel in all of them and our bride was so thankful and like so appreciative of all the work that you put in. And the day was beautiful
Thank
and
you.
it could have gone really, it was a hard day too because we had like intense fog that day that just never lifted and
Yeah.
it could have been really stressful, but I do feel like she was at ease and she wasn't worried about it.
I love micro weddings because I feel like there's so much intentionality behind it, but
Mhm.
also I really love destination weddings and just
Mhm.
getting to connect with vendors everywhere. And I just
Mhm.
feel like there are so many different options. So I'll plan a wedding anywhere that people will
Mhm.
take me. And I would say right now it's about 50% based in Nashville and 50% in different
Mhm.
destinations. So that can be really fun because I get to meet people like you
Yeah,
and go to places like Greenville where I'd never been
yeah.
before. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really
Well,
fun.
I was so happy to have you there. Um, I was trying to think of another, I had another question now I can't remember. Fine. Um, so why do you love the wedding industry?
I love the wedding industry. I think for a couple reasons. One being that, like I said, I'm a recent bride.
Mhm.
So not only did I just go through the experience, but I have a lot of friends that are getting married and family
Mhm.
friends. And I really enjoyed every bit of planning my wedding because this is something that I love to do and it just came naturally to me. But I hear people complain, like friends, people on social media, whatever, all the time about how frustrating and stressful
Mhm.
wedding planning is. And I know that is the reality for a lot of people. And it just really hurts my heart when I hear people say that.
I was one of those brides.
Yeah, like it's so, so common. And I think there are just so many expectations now. There's so much, social media pressure and family pressure when it comes to planning a wedding. So for me, getting to walk with people in a season that is supposed to be so exciting and so fun, and it should be light and an enjoyable experience and give
Mhm.
that to them and me shoulder the logistics and the details and the not fun stuff and help them not get to the point of decision fatigue. It's a way that I get to kind of serve them and, use my servant heart to help other people, but in a way that I enjoy it and I
Mhm.
naturally have a knack for it. So I think that is one reason that weddings are so special because there is so much emotion and pressure
Mhm.
and stress around that. And it's something that should be fun and light and enjoyable. But then also, the wedding industry, like vendors are just fun and kind. Like I have been in wedding specific for about a year and I've made so many friends like you
Mhm.
and connections with people that I regularly talk to every day and get coffee with and just leave interactions with people in the wedding industry just feeling inspired and lifted up, and it's just a group of people and an industry where people love and celebrate people really hard
Mhm.
and just have fun. Like our job is to throw parties. So I love everything about it, honestly.
I love several things you just said. The first, the servant heart. I feel like that's at the heart of my business. As a high school, college student, I was in the service industry and restaurants, and I loved being able to create a great experience for people while they were sitting at my table. But then I wanted to do that still. And it really is at the heart of what I do on a wedding day. And like being able to help a bride who forgot how her dress was supposed to be bustled. Like I do this 20 times a year. I've seen your bustle before. You have not.
Yeah, totally.
So, like taking that stress from them that they didn't even realize was going to be a stress. Or I had a bride who her zipper on her party dress just like completely broke. And
No.
like my second shooter was, I know how to sew a bride into a dress, but she was faster than me. So, like, being able to work as a team and like having people that really care and want you to have a good time and we want you to stay in your dress.
Yeah. Well,
That's so important.
it's so important. And it's a reason too why I tell a lot of my clients when you're picking your vendors, the personality fit matters. And so I always encourage them, like, have an intro call with your photographer, whether you have questions for them or not.
Mhm.
Have an intro call with every vendor because then you can pick people that you want to be around on one of the most exciting days of your
Mhm.
life. I mean, they spend 8 to 12 hours with you on a
Mhm.
wedding day. They can spend up to 16 hours with me on a wedding day. And a lot of times they see us more than they see their partner,
Mhm.
more than they see their family. So, like,
Mhm.
if the vibes aren't vibing, then it can make a crappy day. Like, I've
Yeah.
heard people say, my photographer had great photos, but like her personality kind of sucked. And that sucks. I
That
remember
does suck.
um, the wedding that we did together. Tori picked you obviously because she thought that your photos were beautiful, but she was like, I just loved Kayla's, energy, and she was so kind and easy to talk
Mhm.
to. And you brought that to the wedding day, and we all had the best time.
Yeah.
Vendors,
No,
bride, family, everybody.
she told me that she had had a list of like other photographers that you had like kind of scouted out for the area because she was coming from England and like she didn't know anybody and you
Yeah.
had given her a list and then she was like, "Yeah, but I really liked her." It made me feel good. Like I want people to feel at ease and I think that's so important. Like I'm not everybody's Chick-fil-A sauce. I am not
I
like you
love
might want
that.
Polynesian sauce and that's fine. It matters who feels good to you. And I might not feel good to everybody, and you might not feel good to everybody, but
Totally.
being able to serve people where they are and be really kind and having that servant's heart, I think is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah. You've already given so many pieces of advice for engaged couples, but is there anything else that you would give for them during the planning process? I'm gonna let you do two. So you do
Okay.
planning
I was
process.
gonna say, do you have an hour?
Let's do
Sorry.
two. Let's do one for the planning process and then one for the wedding day.
Okay. I'll try to keep it short. So
Okay.
I feel like for the planning process, the most important thing that everything stems from and sets the stage for planning your wedding is to, before you do anything, book anything, sit down with your partner and have a really honest conversation about what matters to you during that day. Like, is it guest experience? Is it that you guys spend the whole day together? Is it really beautiful photos? Whatever it is that is most important to each of you, and you can each have your own, but you need to set those intentions and those goals from the beginning because I've seen a lot of people get really caught up in all the decisions that happen. And if you don't have a clear intention for what you want that day to look like, what you want it to feel like, and what you want to have after it, then you're just throwing money at a wall. and you aren't being intentional about what is going to happen. And then also being able to communicate that intention to your wedding planner and
Mhm.
to your family, because there's a lot of pressure coming from family, especially.
Mhm.
And then also, your wedding planner is your advocate to your family, to your other vendors. So if I know, for example, I have a client I'm working with right now, they did a great job of this, came to me and said, our biggest, most important thing is that we have a killer band, because every wedding we've been to with our family that we're super close to and our friends, the thing that we all remembered from that day is that we had a blast on the dance floor
Mhm.
with the band. We still have the memories from it, we have the photos from it, and that's what's most important. So we were able to book the band first after the venue, make sure they got exactly who they wanted, exactly what they wanted, and then curate the rest of the budget around the fact that they got the band, and then everything else is just how do we make it pretty and how do we, add to the experience. But they knew the intention, and we can then communicate that
Mhm.
to parents when they're like, why did we spend this much on a band? Well, that's the most important thing to them, and we
Yeah.
can spend less on flowers and cake and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So I feel like a lot of times, if people don't have that conversation as well,
Mhm.
the bride or the parents, drives everything. And maybe the groom
Mhm.
has an opinion, and you just don't know it. So
Yeah.
I think that's my
I know.
biggest
I noticed that a
advice.
lot recently with couples that are wanting to book me, but a family member is like, which I'm not downing videographers at all. Like their
Totally.
role is so important, but the bride is like, video is not really important to me, but my grandmother or like my grandmother's paying for it and she thinks that I need a videographer and I don't, it's not necessarily I don't need that cinematic 10-minute long video. It's not important to me. And so it's making the process of like choosing your vendors harder when you're not setting your intentions.
Totally. And like I said, communicating that and having an advocate as well. Obviously, I'm biased towards having a wedding planner and a full wedding
Mhm.
planner, but the way my clients are able to come to me and say, hey, my mom thinks that we need a plated dinner, but she doesn't understand how much more expensive that is
Mhm.
going to be. And I would rather put that money towards extra flowers or towards, having the photographer that costs 2000 more. I'm
Mhm.
able to relay that and provide quotes to say, here's the difference in experience, here's the difference in
Mhm.
cost, here's what you can get if you go with the other option, and just
Mhm.
have that open, unbiased communication
Mhm.
with the other parties to where I don't have emotion in it,
Yeah.
So it's not like a pull either way for me. I can
Mhm.
just clearly present the evidence and the argument and also be an advocate for the people whose day it actually is.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I get that side of it too. I have a friend that's a photographer, and she and I were talking about, she was like, I had this really awesome couple and they wanted to book me, but they wanted a video, like, too. And she was like, I wasn't the right fit for them.
Hmm.
And they were able to get both of those things within their budget if they went with somebody else and then still get to have the cake or the flowers and the DJ that they wanted without blowing the budget on me as their photographer and someone else as their videographer. So I love that you have these like really candid conversations with couples, and like including family in that too is so
Hmm.
important. And like I don't think people, brides and grooms, are prepared for the hard conversations with their family, because their family has this like idea of like, when my little girl gets married she's gonna have this and this, and then the bride is like, that is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like having someone there to advocate for you as well, I think is amazing.
And it gets tricky. Like, I saw on Instagram, it was a meme or a quote, and it was like planning your wedding is your first group project with your parents. And it's so funny because it's so true, which I think it depends who's paying for it. And there are those
Mhm.
different implications, and every couple's different. Some couples I work mainly with the parents because
Mhm.
maybe the bride's like, I could care less. I just want to show up and marry my person. They're paying for it, whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I will have the parents or whoever is paying for the wedding on the intro call, and I'll ask them what's most important to you too,
Mhm.
because obviously their opinion does matter. So how do we curate the budget to get, maybe dad wants, his most important thing is he wants all his buddies there. It's like, great, you're paying for it, you want all your buddies there, let's make that happen. But
Mhm.
also I'm going to communicate to you that with this caterer, you're paying $100 a guest.
Mm-hmm.
So would you have, Uncle Jet's new wife come over to dinner and pay $100 to feed her?
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe don't invite them or
Yeah.
do. It's up to you. But like just being able to have honest conversation around finances and emotions can be
Mm-hmm.
really tricky. So it's good to have someone to run that by.
I completely resonate with that. I was a bride that was very overwhelmed by, first of all, the process and the
Hmm.
number of emails and the cost. And this was like, I've been married 7 years. So this was years ago when prices weren't quite as high as they are now. So I get it. And I ended up opting, like, I planned a very small ceremony with 10 family members and a photographer. And then we went out to dinner afterwards. And my friend gifted me a bouquet because I was going to try to DIY it. But I because I was not prepared for those conversations and very overwhelmed by it all, and I didn't have an advocate working with me to figure out what was important, that's what kind of led me down the path to the small ceremony.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Budget is so tricky too, because I think that these days, I mean, if you've never planned a wedding, you don't know what it costs.
Hmm.
You might have a number in your head of, oh, $50,000 is a lot of money, and it is.
Hmm.
But this is also, the real world and things cost what they cost. So, one thing I love about being able to full plan or even coordination is I have a templated budget sheet that I can put in, okay, here's your number. Here's the percentages you should allocate with that number towards
Hmm.
each category. And then also, here are what things actually cost.
Hmm.
So we can even look at that sometimes, they'll come in with a $30 or $40,000 budget, and then they want a band and a plated dinner, and they're sending me florals with inspo from a $100,000 wedding,
Hmm.
and it's just easy to be able to say, here's the average range of what a
Hmm.
photographer costs, and then here's how much you have to allocate towards that.
Hmm.
Now, how do we shift this around
Hmm.
and make it work to have everything that you
Yeah.
want? And I think for weddings, it's tricky because, for example, I heard someone say this and I would credit them if I knew who it was, but if you're building a custom home, like lumber costs what it costs, paint costs what it costs, and you have a budget sheet and you would not build a home without a contractor.
Hmm.
Well, it's the same thing with a wedding. Every piece is going to cost what it costs, and you can remove things to make it fit within your budget,
Hmm.
but you can't build $1 million home for $300,000,
Yeah.
and you're not going to go through a 2-year build process without a contractor, just like you
Hmm.
really shouldn't go through a 2-year wedding planning process without a contractor or
Contractor.
wedding planner.
So, how far out should people be reaching out to you for full service planning?
Typically, I'm working with clients roughly a year out at least. Anything under a year is tight, but also, I mean, I think reach out whenever you want to make it happen and we'll
Hmm.
plan the date. Something that I do recommend is getting a wedding planner before you book your venue. And I think a
Okay.
lot of people don't know that. But the reason for that is that there are a lot of nuances with venues and what venues offer and don't offer, and the
Hmm.
pricing can be so confusing. So, I mean, if you're comparing a blank slate venue that has no rentals, no, you know, you just get the venue and you show up and it's there,
Hmm.
compared to the price of a venue that comes with everything.
Hmm.
It's like, yes, the venue that comes with everything, might be a little more expensive, but at the blank slate venue, they have preferred caterers and
Hmm.
you have to do all the rentals. So actually, it's
Yeah.
going to cost you double.
It's like
And
hiring a realtor to like
yeah,
really pound out that metaphor of.
and you don't know what you don't know. So, like you said, you do 20 of these a year. I do around 10.
Hmm.
So just lean on an expertise because I have had clients book me after the venue and
Hmm.
they may be locked into a contract, and that can make budget allocation really hard if they've already committed and
Hmm.
signed on the dotted line. And I'm like, "Ooh, I wouldn't have recommended with that budget to book that venue, but we'll make it work." But it's a lot smoother if you book the wedding planner first.
Yeah. And then your second piece of advice for couples on their wedding day.
Wedding day. I think I kind of alluded to this earlier, but just being really intentional about being present. And I guess ahead of the wedding day, I think it's really important. And for my clients, I always talk to them about what's the most important part, also about the wedding day that you want to experience.
Hmm.
Some people say that they want a lot of alone time and they don't want to feel rushed and they don't, want it to be a quick boom, 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 and then the day is over. And then some people are like, I want to be at cocktail hour, and that's really important to me. So understanding that really helps plan the timeline,
Hmm.
which allows you to be intentional.
Yes.
So, for example, a lot of couples we will schedule in 15 to 20-minute increments throughout the day where they get to sneak away and be alone and just like enjoy, we just got married, this is
Hmm.
great. But if you don't build that time into your
Hmm.
timeline, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I really stress that as well I want my couples to spend a lot of time together on their wedding day because
Hmm.
otherwise it's just like, here's a bunch of photos of you, and then here's a bunch of photos of you, and then here's a few pictures of you together. So if they don't have their heart set on seeing each other at the aisle, I am advocating for the first look so that you can have that time together.
Same.
'Cause it's the difference between 2 to 3 hours together and 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. And then also, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but with photos, people are like, I want candids. I want a lot of
Hmm.
candid photos. Well, in order to have candid photos, you have to have candid moments.
Hmm.
And so if you have a really tight timeline and you only booked your photographer to be there for 6 or 8 hours, then
Hmm.
you don't have time to have the candid moment of your bridesmaids praying over you before you walk down the
Hmm.
aisle, or, you getting to see your grandma for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, those moments aren't going to be there because you are being pushed and shoved around
Yeah.
to the next photo shoot. And
Yes.
that's just not it.
The intentionality doesn't feel as it's not as genuine and
Hmm.
intentional as getting to experience the day undone, like unhinged from the timeline. Like there's a timeline for
Totally.
a reason and we have to have a timeline, but that shouldn't be the driving factor on wedding days.
Absolutely. And just intentionality is something I just
Mhm.
really, really stress. And you want to spend as much time together, like you said, as you can,
Mhm.
because it's your day. And
Mhm.
obviously, you want to spend it with your family and your best friends and whatever, but try not to leave each other's side.
Mhm.
Or you'll turn around and the day's over and you're like, oh, I
Yeah,
saw him for 10 minutes.
I know. I can't even tell you how many times I've lost a groom. I'm
Yeah.
like, where did he go?
Yeah.
He's just like out there dancing dancing during the reception. I was like, where is this guy? I need him here.
Yeah. You're like, no dance floor photos of the two of them
Yeah.
because they were opposite sides at all
Yes.
times.
Like,
Yeah.
even if you're not a big dancer and she is, like, just get out there and enjoy it. Like,
And it's hard, but I even try to recommend to my clients that they build a portion in, whether it's at cocktail hour or while the guests are in line for the buffet or whatever, for them
mhm.
to get up and like almost have a little line of let me say hi to everyone
Mhm.
so that they can spend the time on the dance floor instead of small talking with
Mhm.
everyone they didn't get to talk to.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's have a little speed dating moment.
Yeah. When you recommend that, do you recommend like a private dinner or anything to kind of make up for the lost time, like in the seat eating?
Yeah, I rarely recommend that the couple eats while everyone else eats,
Mhm.
honestly. Some people really do want that and will make it work. But
Mhm.
a lot of times I recommend either a private dinner for 10 or 15 minutes for that intentional alone time, or what we'll do is the caterer will already have the bride and groom's meal ready.
Mhm.
And then when everyone else is getting up and going to the buffet, they had 10 minutes to eat and they
Mhm.
can get up and kind of talk to everybody and
Mhm.
greet everyone.
I like that too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome. Before we hop off our call, do you have a link or where can people find you? Anything going on to let
Yeah.
people get to you?
You can find me at hownby.com, spelled HOWNBY.com, or my social media is a lot more up to date than my website, which
Okay.
I'm working on it, but you can find me at h.ownbyevents on Instagram or h.ownby on TikTok.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That's amazing. And what do you have coming up next? Any destination weddings? What's going on for you?
I have, let's see, I have an engagement party this month, a bridal shower next month. First wedding is May, and then we're pretty much full steam ahead, two weddings every month for the end of the year. And then destination, we're going to Charleston this year and East Tennessee, I think so
Okay.
far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I just want to thank all of the listeners. If you're listening or watching, thank you so much. And I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Bye. This was
Bye.
fun.